So, Shemaria, we're going to go into some Hebraic thought, and I'm going to show you how once you learn Hebraic thought, that the New Testament reads totally different than those Greek translations. So, Shemaria, can you take us to Matthew 5:18, please? Matthew chapter 5, verse 18. And I'm going to show you the value of having Hebrew or Hebraic thought to unlock and unravel the New Testament. Shema, read.
For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law, till all be fulfilled.
So this is in red in most hard copies, and this is Messiah talking. And Messiah says, not one jot or tittle shall pass from the law. Not one jot or tittle shall pass from the law. So if you're taking notes, or if you're going to listen to this at the replay, there's a few tools that can help you unlock this adulteration of these other languages. And the first thing, I said it before, and I am working on those bookmarks. So just give me some time. I got the elder test complete. So now I can work on the bookmarks to help you study when you're studying. But one thing I want you to write down or take note of, when you read words inside the Bible, whether it be the Old Testament or the New Testament, see if there's a Hebrew equivalent of that English word. And what I mean by that, I would take the word jot. We're going to start with the word jot. And I will say, man, I wonder what the Hebrew equivalent of jot is. So that's when we're starting to dig for Aba Yah sharash. We're digging for Aba Yah sharash. So I would ask myself, does that pagan word even appear in the Old Testament? Can I find a verse in the Old Testament that used that word jot? Because if I can't find that word, then okay, now we got problems. So if the word doesn't appear in the Tanakh, my next step is, do we have a Hebrew equivalent? And what I mean by that, family, let's take the word Christ. The word Christ doesn't appear in the Tanakh, the Old Testament. I don't think you'll find it there. Always double check me. But I don't think the word Christ appears in the Tanakh. But I do know now, looking up that word Christ by their language, I know, oh, that means by their language, it means anointed, appointed. So, okay, I can find that Hebrew equivalent in Mashiach or Mashach. So the English is Messiah. So for me, I don't have a problem saying Christ, because I know we have a Hebrew equivalent, and it's Mashiach, and we say Ha Mashiach, because he's the Messiah, he's the ultimate Messiah. So that's how you start to build and dig for Aba Yah sharash or Hebrew roots. Now, to give you the antithesis of that, let's take the word Jesus. I have a problem with the word Jesus because it doesn't appear in the Old Testament, and we don't have a Hebrew equivalent for Jesus. Because when you look up the word Jesus in their pagan tongue, Jesus doesn't have a definition. They start telling you things like the Messiah of Israel, but no, that's not how Hebrew works. Hebrew, our names are actually like, to just keep it simple, our names are like nouns and verbs of things. Like Shemaria, that means to hear, to be heard. So Jesus in the Hebrew has no equivalent. So I would have to 86 that. That's how you can start pointing out that the text has been altered. When you can't find the word at all inside the Old Testament, and when we don't have a Hebrew equivalent, those are red herrings. You are reading adulterated text, and you have to slow down and go beneath the surface. Is that making sense for everybody so far? Got one comment. All praise for that. So Going back to Matthew 5:18, starting with the word jot or jolt, they got Messiah saying not one jot or tittle. And we know that's a translation. We know our king does not speak English, but we know also he don't speak Greek. Shamoya, can you give us the breakdown of the word jolt or jot?
That's up here.
Come.
Of Hebrew origin, the 10th. Oh, your screen not sharing. Huh?
I'm sorry, family. I'm sorry. Good grace in the morning. I'm thinking we up here going in.
There you go.
Salakia, family, for that.
Don't worry, you still teaching.
Huh?
Said, don't worry, you still teaching. Because we still got to listen to what you're saying.
So here's the breakdown for their pagan word jolt in the Greek. So jolt is English. We got it in the English, but it's from a Greek word. Can you break it down for us?
Of Hebrew origin, the 10th letter of the Hebrew alphabet, iota, the name of the 8th letter of the Greek alphabet, put figuratively for a very small part of something, a jot.
So they're saying they got the word, the English word, and I say pagan, the pagan English word jolt comes from the pagan Greek word iota. And then you notice these little phrases they put figuratively. So figuratively, you don't really know. You're guessing and making things up because you don't understand the culture. So it's figuratively small part of anything. And it sort of makes sense if you're a Greek like we used to be. But when you got to get back to the Hebrew, can you read the Thayer's Greek lexicon, Strong's G 2503?
The Hebrew letter yod, the smallest of them all, hence equivalent to the minutest part, as in the chapter we just read, Matthew 5:18.
So Thayer's is agreeing with Strong's and saying that, yeah, iota comes from the Hebrew letter yod. Stop. The Hebrew letter yod is a word. Yod is a word. And when I don't know anybody other than I know Aba Yah speaks Spanish. Anybody on inside the virtual room speak a foreign language other than pagan English? Nobody. Aba Yah, did you learn Spanish from family or inside their Jesuit schools?
My grandmother's oldest sister taught me.
Okay. So you got it through pretty much lineage. Mm-hmm. But the key to learning any language, family, you have to learn the sounds that their characters of their language make. You have to learn the sounds of their hieroglyphs. So the Hebrew letter yod does not exist. Yod is a word. So you can't pronounce any Hebrew word with the sound yod. So already we can see their understanding of Matthew 5:18 is tainted, and their understanding of our culture is tainted. Now, to your screen, you see at the right of the Strong's definition, you see the picture of the arm of a man. That's the picture of the arm of a man. It gives us the Yah sound. Family, does that arm to you looks like the smallest, minutest thing?
La-ah.
La-ah. Our letter, our 10th letter, it's not even the 10th, it is the 10th letter. Our 10th letter is the sound Yah. Yah. And it's the picture, it's the hieroglyph of a man's arm. It's not the smallest hieroglyph we have. Shamaria is inside the room. You guys got your tithe cards. What would you say the smallest glyph we have? It's hard to say. Those are kind of
a na or tazah, maybe
even the wah. It's definitely not the yah. The arm of a man is not the smallest glyph we have. I would even say, if we're going to be like technical, the two front teeth, because the two front teeth are smaller than an arm, right?
right.
So all praise to Aba Yah, he just gave that to me. If you're going to say that the word joke means the smallest thing, it would make sense for an Israelite to use the shah, because two front teeth are smaller than an arm. So why are y'all giving me yod, a made-up word yod, talking about that's what joke mean or jock mean? They don't understand the Hebraic context of what Messiah said, because Messiah didn't speak English, so he didn't say joke, and he didn't speak Greek, so he didn't say iota. He says, in the context of the Hebrew thought, what do you do with your arm?
Right.
You write or scribe. So what Messiah is saying is, nothing that's written in the law shall be done away with. He didn't say not the smallest thing, because now they give you, oh yeah, because the Hebrew language have dots and little diacritics. That's all a made up language. Our language don't have dots, nikus, and sukus. All that is an abomination. But when you don't know the Hebrew culture, you buy that story from them because they're doctors. They went to Hebrew University. They went to Moody University. So when they say one jot or tittle means the smallest little mark of the law, it seems like it's practical. Because I'm a Christian slave waking up. I don't know that Hebrew is my natural tongue, so I haven't taken the time to do the scholarship. So pastors say that, and it makes sense. But they don't even live by this verse inside the church. But let's save that for later. So the Hebraic thought of Matthew 5:18, Hamashiach, the king of Israel, is not saying the smallest part. He's saying the Yah, the arm of a man. Nothing written in the Torah by the prophets is going to pass away. That's how you got to put the Hebraic thought back into the text. That's how you extrete all this Greek abomination. Does that make sense to anybody?
It makes a lot of sense to me.
Any questions or comments about that part? We can slow this down part by part.
Yes, lock it. Two things. Even going back to the smallest thing, to me, if I just had to say literally the smallest thing, it'll probably be the seed.
Right.
The
Yeah.
seed is smaller than everything that's smaller than the eye, is smaller than all these other things. Just to even point that out. But
Yeah.
Even it's good that you're going over this, because it's been on my mind like past probably 2 months. I'm like jot and tittle.
Yeah.
That sounds Yiddish.
Absolutely.
Oh, that sounds Masoretic. That's not what, that doesn't sound like something that he actually said. Of course, it's what he meant, but not that insertion of jot and tittle. I'm like, no, that's not what he said. No.
That makes perfect sense. The seed of a man that's inside of us is the smallest part of our anatomy. So if he was going to make a literal analogy, it would make sense to use the seed of a man, because that's smaller than the eye. You can't even see our seed, right? So that lets you know that these translators cannot translate Hebraic thought, and they're out of line with Aba Yah and our Messiah. Joe, you had something up?
Yeah, so you know how they try to say this modernized tetragrammaton, the YHWH? Don't they try to say that's Yod Hey Va Hey, something like that? Is that the same Yod? Is they saying that the Y is?
Yes, it is. It would be Yaha Waha. But yeah. What they're saying is the same letter, the arm. It's supposed to be an arm, but they use that little, almost like an apostrophe.
Yeah. That's part of the tetragrammaton. So, but Yod is a word in Hebrew?
No.
Yod. See, this the thing about
this is the thing about.
That's why I said it sounds like Yiddish.
Yeah. So this is the thing, why to me, I started picking up on this language quick when I came here, and Marah started showing me some of the bare bones basics. And one of the things he told me that I looked at and said, oh yeah, that makes sense. And he said it earlier. They use words as letters. So we say Yah, they say Yod. We say Ah, they say Aleph.
Mm-hmm.
So when you trying to make a language, if you was a newborn baby, or not a newborn, but a child learning a language, how would you say, like, how could you spell a word with a word? So I said, yeah, that makes sense, because you need to use sounds to put words together, just like English. We say A, B, C, D. We don't say apple, bumble, cat. You know what I mean? So how come in Hebrew, they're saying this is the Hebrew, oh, and this is the Yod? No, that doesn't make any sense. This is the Yah. And then that's why he stressed the characters of the letters, because once you start seeing and learning the characters, you can summarize an idea of what the word means just by knowing the characters. And I said, man, I know this must be true, because I went and made index cards and literally only like studied them like once, like looked over them, read them like once. And I got like a majority of it down pat just from one time. So they confuse us by saying Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey. First of all, there's no V's in the Hebrew.
Right.
But they try to spell words with words. And so we get mixed up. So the Yod would be Yah in the true Hebrew language. And again, to his point, it definitely wouldn't be the smallest of them. And then this goes back to just, if you just been in a lot of these classes of what he was saying, that you can't take the lexicon at face value either. So I hope that, made sense, answer your question. Did that answer your question, Gerald? Or he said, well said.
And to paint the picture even clearer, because this is going to be public on a YouTube page, even in their Jesuit schools that all of us came up in, they taught. Gina, is Gina still online? Ben, you still there? Mm-hmm. Is little Mav there talking? If you can hear our grandson.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Is Mav talking? Is Mav
he's not talking. He actually just woke up, so he's not actually talking. Say something, baby. Say, mama, dada. Say dada. Now he wants to use the phone. He's not saying anything.
is 6 months old, and he's starting to make sounds. And to him, he's talking. And in their schools, they taught us A is for apple, B is for boy. They taught us the sounds those letters made, and then we learned how to spell. Because y'all remember getting 5 times each? And then they tell you when you can't read a word to do what? Sound it out. What Hebrew word we got that has a sound aleph in it? We say Aba. Even in their translations, you have the word Aba there. I don't say aleph. So then like Yah point out, people say the aleph is silent. How do you have a hieroglyph that's silent? So these are the alterations that we got to go through. So right now we can make up a new language. Right now we can make up a new language. Let's do it. We're going to make up a language called the Torah Group. This language is called the Torah Group. And to speak this language, the first thing we got to do is come up with some pictures and give them sounds. Well, let's just use the pictures we already used to, the APP cards. But instead of saying that's an A, we're going to change that to that's Alabama. So our first 5 letters, Alabama, Boston, give me a G, Georgia, what's the D? Dakota. So we're gonna change the labels for the first 5 letters. Alabama, Boston, Georgia, Dakota, and what's H? Havana. So now we done changed the sounds of these first 5 letters. So what can we do with it? How are we gonna put Alabama on? You can't make no word with a word. That's the point we're driving home. So people who are out there teaching and pushing Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, they don't understand they're under a pagan system. Not only that, the hieroglyphs, the letters are the smallest part, the minutest part of sound. Sounds or phonetics have power. So you have to be careful what you're saying. Calling him Elohim may not be Elohim in the heavens. So that's why we take the time to really learn what our language is. So this example, Hamashiach in Matthew 5:18 did not say the smallest thing of the law. He's saying nothing that's been handwritten shall pass.
And just a comment on, like, just to stay right there where you were saying, Elohim can't be right. Why is that? Because what word do they have that what sound is no E sound?
Right.
Even if you come to what they say the language is, they're using Elo for Aleph.
Right.
Well, then at the worst, now the newer thing would be to say Aluah. But to say Elohim, you know that you are way off because you don't even have a letter for that.
Right. It makes no sense. And this is not throwing stones at rocks. This is for people who don't want to be indoctrinated, people who want the truth. So we're not throwing stones or rocks at anybody. If that's your understanding and you're the one using that, all praises, you carry on what you're doing. But facts are facts. The facts of the case is those sounds are not native to Israel. So let's go back to that word they call Aleph. Aleph is ALEPH. And the PH makes the F sound. Which one of the Hebrew hieroglyphs make the F sound? We don't have it. We don't have the F sound. What these pagans did, they took the Pa, the hieroglyph of a mouth, and they matched it to their Greek symbol. Anybody pledge? Any Greeks in here? What's the Greek sound for the Pa that came close to it? The Fa. The Fa. So the Greeks looked at our Pa, the open mouth, and they say, well, our closest glyph we got is the Fa. And if you look at their Fa, if you've ever been around Sigmas or any of them, the Fa is a picture of a circle with a pole going down it. So we don't have the Fa or the F sound in our language. So that word that they're using to make a word, Aleph, is not Aleph, it's Alap. The word for a bull is Alap, A-L-P, or the A, the La, the Pa, is Alap. And when you understand what those 3 hieroglyphs mean, you understand why we call ox Alap. Because he's the strength that's leading, and he's making holes in the earth. That's what he do when you break up fallow ground. You got to get your field ready. You take your ox, and your ox got that iron instrument on it, and he's going through your field, making lines or grooves in your field. So the he's the ox, the La, he's leading, and the Pa, he's making holes or he's opening your field. So the word is Alap. It's not Aleph. We don't have the F sound.
Another one that's popular would be Kiefer.
What's that for?
Peter.
Oh yeah. That we don't have the F sound. So Israelite, if you call him Kiefer, no Israelite will know who you're talking about. If you say Kappa or Kappa, oh yeah. I know his dad. I know his brother. So this is what we're pointing out. Unlocking the New Testament, it takes this type of detective work, this type of patience to extract what our elders really said, because the New Testament has been redacted, edited, revised. You got the all kind of editions, NIV, you got the Moody edition. But when you come back to the Hebrew, you can break down, and Abba will show you the adulterations even inside the Greek New Testament. And the point of this, we're going to get to later, once you extract the Hebraic thought, it's plain to see nothing's changed. Messiah didn't change anything. So let's go to the other part of Matthew 5:18. What did he say? Not one jot or tittle, right? And remember, your steps to unravel this thing is, can we find the word tittle in the Old Testament? I've did it, but please go behind me. I couldn't find the word tittle. Use all the Bible apps. I couldn't find it to come up. So now I look to the Greek, and the Greek they're saying is a word kariah. Kariah. Can you break that kariah for us?
Kariah, feminine of a presumed derivative of the base of Strong's G2768, something horn-like, i.e., especially the apex of a Hebrew letter, figuratively the least particle, tittle.
Again, we see signs of adulterations because they're saying figuratively the least particle, especially the apex of a Hebrew letter. Well, the original Hebrew letters don't have apexes. They're hieroglyphs of different things that's in our culture. The ox, the tent floor, the foot of a man, the door, the man with his hands raised, the tent peg, a tool for cutting, the tent wall. So the original hieroglyphs that you can find on stones don't have apexes and points. So what are you talking about? This kariah is the tittle. It's not making sense. But y'all know how they say in every lie, there's a little bit of truth. There's a little bit of truth. What did somebody got a question?
Right.
Go ahead, Op.
Salaki, real quick. I just wanted to ask, is it the same thing with the U sound, like Yahuwah? Because now that Mark brings that up, what would they say according to like their letters? Where is that U sound come from?
They're turning our wa into the u, the English, the pagan u. So they use they use our wa for the u, and sometimes they use it for
A V.
a v.
So I get kind of, I think I'm hearing you. So you'll have people who, like the fish people, they would say, they wouldn't really say his name because that's what they believe. So they're going to say Hashem,
Right.
But they would say Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Now you will take one step up to people, real Israelites. They're going to say Yahu, but they're using the same character.
Yeah.
The Wah.
How confusing would it be to teach my grandson, little Mav, how to speak, and I'm telling him that this character has 3 or 4 different sounds? You know how backwards they say English is the hardest language because of this mess. Every other language, that hieroglyph got one usage. But now you come to English that you got from the Latins, that they got from the Greeks, and now you're saying this one character has 3 or 4 different usages. It's madness. So our wa doesn't have 2 or 3 sounds. It's the wa, Yahweh. And then when you understand what wa means, the tent peg, you join things with the tent peg, Yahweh. He exists, he joins life. It makes sense when you learn these hieroglyphs.
Well, secures life.
He secures life.
And I want to just put this out there because I feel like it'll do a service maybe to somebody. Because if you like me, I'm a curious cat and I'm looking at all kinds of stuff. I feel like that's how I learn. But some people are not strong in their faith stances or beliefs, so you get swayed.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I ain't even told you this yet, so comment. But there's a teaching out there that they'll say that, because we see the Yaha Waha even from the stuff they found at the Dead Sea Scrolls. But there's a teaching, and they said that it took them so long to translate and make those writings public because they went in there and added Yahweh instead of Aha Yah. Ahaya. So they literally are saying, yeah, we know it's written in the ancient text, but they added it. And you know what I'm getting at. Right. So I'm just saying, if somebody stumbled across that, just beware.
That's that plumb line. You would have to give me 2 or 3 witnesses of what you're saying.
Right.
And we're going to get into that later. People, these teachers are doing the little hand tricks, reading text, and then giving you commentary that's sounding good. It's tinkling to the ear. But your commentary, yeah, I know you just read that verse, but all that commentary after that verse don't make sense. And you don't have any witnesses. That's when you got to be Berean. Give me a witness that they added the Yahweh. Give me some witnesses. If you can't produce witnesses, then you're just making things up to win an argument. Heard a brother say that Adam had parents just to win an argument. And I really respected this brother for years, even though he's not really on page with my understanding. I respected his decorum. But when he just said that, I said, I can't respect him no more. So hold people's feet to the plumb line. Me and everybody out there, can you find witnesses? Are they giving you witnesses, or are they giving you the pump fake? That makes sense, don't it? Shaking her head. Yeah, I just broke that down, didn't I? It's simple, right? Right? No, don't feel peer pressure to say right. No, I don't see it. I'm sorry, I don't see it.
Real quick, just a response to that. One way that someone can test that is the names of the tribes. So if the Most High's name is let's say Hayah instead of Yahweh, then when you look at Judah, most admit that they would say it was no J.
Right.
And then so they would maybe say Yahudah, but if you look at it, Yahweh and Yahwadah, our name is his name is still within our name.
Right.
So if not, we would have been called Hayadah.
Right. And then go back to what you said. You said that pronunciation they're using, Yahudah. Well, that's a H-U sound. Mm-hmm. You don't spell Judah with J-H-U.
Right.
So these are context clues. Like, people are just adopting things as popular. You're doing the same thing you did in church. Pastor said you got to pay tithes every 2 weeks. Is he a Levite? Well, I don't know. What is a Levite? You're just coming into this Hebrew awakening, doing things because all praises, you found the truth, and now that this leader, he's popular, and he got all kind of breakdowns, and he's speaking in tongues. All that charisma stuff is out the door. Show me your witnesses to what you're saying. Yahudah doesn't make sense because Yahudah will be Y-H-U. We don't have the U sound. So this is the type of research and scholarship you have to do, and you have to be a man or woman to stand on your square and don't worry when people shun you or attack you, especially when they can't produce witnesses to validate what they're saying. You got people becoming groupies. My Moray, my teacher. You are a groupie. You're no different than the Sunday pastor and the Christians who love their pastors. Now you just put in Yahuwah and Yah on everything. You're an Israelite Christian because you're not verifying what that man is saying. We're not doing that here at the Torah Group. Everything has to be tested and proved. And when we find it's false, we're going to correct it. That's who we are. So getting back to the tittle. The tittle is not, that English word tittle is not found in the Tanakh. So the Greek word is kariah. And they're telling us kariah is something horn-like. Something horn-like. So to me, that's giving me, okay, I can work with that. Because what is horns a metaphor in our culture?
Horns, if you're talking about horns like a trumpet horn or the ox, the bull horns, I would say. And so I'm being too.
And it represents like kings and all that type stuff, like on the
beast.
Strength or a leader.
The horn represents authority. Remember the Daniel prophecy? The little horn rose up, and then another horn rose up. So in the Israelite, in the Hebraic thought, horn is authority or power. So now I'm getting closer to the Hebraic thought of what Messiah said. Not one jot, meaning not one thing written with the hand of the prophets, nor no power of the law. So that makes sense? So Messiah didn't say, because if we take this tittle at face value, it's a redundant statement.
But he's saying the same thing twice.
And our Father don't waste words, because the Son says, my doctrine is not my own. So why would Father just say the smallest thing, nor the smallest things on him? It don't make sense. But you don't get that. You can't detect the adulteration if you're just a Roman Greco student like we all were. You have to come back to being an Israelite to see how one jot or tittle does not make sense. And that's not the magnitude, that's not the power of what Yahushua said. He said, not one thing written by the arm of the prophets shall fail, nor no power of the law shall fade away. Does that make sense to everybody? To get a witness, can you take us to Tehillim? Let's go to Tehillim 18:2, just to give you a picture of it. I didn't check.
If I can, real quick, Marab. So with my testimony earlier, as I said, I ran into one of the ox from IUIC, and I was showing him just how we subscribe to the Aba Yah, and because he had said we didn't need the language, and as soon as he said that, I started remembering, okay, Hamashiach had patience with the brethren, even though, there's some things we just ain't gonna all agree on. We might not see yet. And, I showed it to him and I was like, well, have you ever seen it before? He was like, he said, what, like the hieroglyphs? I was like, yeah, you've never seen like these emoji style characters before? He was like, no, I never seen them before. And I just say all those things to say this, what you're saying right now is just so edifying, because it shows you how powerful it is to come back to the original language and be able to really just unlock more of what the scriptures is trying to speak to us in these days. So what is it? The prologue of Sirach that says the same things that are written in another tongue and that's translated out of the Hebrew don't have the same power or force in them. This is just a personal witness, just with this little bit that you're starting to bring out now. So I wanted to say that.
Kaya Dala Yahweh, and before Gerald comes on, you said emojis, and I'm like, you know what? I really never thought about that. So y'all still copying off the Israelites.
Yeah, that's
the sons of Abraham.
That's what we said, me and Nariah, to say. That's how we looked at it as our generation. It's like, oh yeah, now we use emojis and we know what somebody means, but that's what they did back then. You just put a picture of whatever you're trying to say, and then someone would know what you meant by the picture.
Right.
It's the same thing. That's why they call it pictograph.
It's just like, we are still leading the world, even as slaves. We're still leading the world. Joe, you had something up?
Yeah, I was just thinking about how ironic it is. Even with us exposing that statement couldn't have came from Mashiach, and it's definitely not Hebrew origin. It's ironic because the way that they even use it, no jot or tittle would be changed, from the law. But yet and still, majority of your modern doctrine has changed or removed the law, and it's important. So they read that and they all can quote it and tell you, no matter what faith, they all will quote it and tell you, but yet they contradict themselves, even in how they understand that. So I mean, I just find it ironic, like even if showing somebody the true meaning of what that meant, it's still gonna go over their head because they read it and don't do it anyway.
And I think that's what Ox is saying. Gerald, correct me if I'm wrong. Even your pagan understanding, you're not following.
100%, even 100%. They not even following it. And then when you add the prophecy of the little horn of Daniel that will change times and law and things like that, they completely just overlook that stuff. The opposition of the Most High's people will try to remove and change law and stuff like that, but yet y'all just, the law is no longer valid.
No longer
It,
valid.
it don't make sense.
Don't make sense at all, man. What about for that? You got something?
I just want to say one, reason why, not saying that place you named specifically, but just places that teach in general will say, some places say that the language is not important, because if you learn the language and start seeing a lot of the truth of what these things really mean, it would put holes in the doctrine that they teach themselves and they hold on to.
You're talking about the Hebrews.
The Hebrews, yeah, the Hebrew camps and leaders and stuff like that. Some of them who say things like, oh, the language is not important, if the shoe fits, wear it. But a lot of times people like that say those things because they want to hold on to what they tell you is the truth, when those were, because they'll say what Marah always points out. See, it says this right here, but a lot of times in actuality, they saying is saying in English is not really what it's saying. So it's like an extra layer of protection that they can use. It's almost like we know 100%. We ain't saying a specific group, but we know that our people are infiltrated. It's just been through history.
Right.
So it would make sense. It's like, we just like slavery. Don't teach those ninjas how to read.
Right.
Just the same thing. If you read in English, you still don't know how to read because you don't know
it's a garbage language.
Hebrew.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think it's one of those fail-safe mechanisms or extra layers of protection that they use to wake you to some extent, but keep you in darkness to some extent as well.
And the greatest example I have of that when I was coming in, because it deterred me and Gina from studying the language, because me and Gina came in and we started learning the Yiddish. We had our notebooks, and then I came across the brothers using the ah sound. And again, Willie Lynch is still applying. I'm not acting like I'm better than anybody. When I heard those brothers speaking that ah sound, I'm like, these ninjas that made something up. Because I had invested all the time in learning the Aleph Bet Gimel, and I was getting good at it. And I'm like, man, it's been 3 or 4 months, me and Gina practicing, writing and now I come across these brothers. I'm like, man, they done made something up. But my heart stayed open. Let me examine that. And then when you can find the actual words in the Bible, Aba, Raka, don't call your brother a fool, Raka. So it's like, wait a minute. And then again, being humble and patient, I ain't changing my stance yet, but I'm building my research. Then saw that brother did the work. He gave me the book. He says, hey, you can get the book for yourself. And doctors, educated doctors from the 1500s, 1600s saying Hebrew only has one sound. That gave me the confidence to come back to this. And then the verse they take you to, the ones who don't want to put the time in, Isaiah 28:11. He said, speak to the people in another language. See, he already knew he was going to be scattered. So I'm saying this again, we already brought this out. I'm saying this to put this back on record. When you go read Isaiah 28:11, I shall speak to them with another tongue. He's not saying language. He's talking to Ephraim, who's steep in idolatry. And he says, Ephraim, I was talking to you as a beloved son of mine, but now because you're stiff-necked and don't want to come out of idolatry, I'm going to change my tone to you. Now I'm going to call you a bastard. Now I'm going to say, get out my lane. So them not knowing that, they're standing on Isaiah 28:11. It says right here, he's going to, no, you got the wrong context because you're a pastor, you're a Rebbe, you're a Moray, you're a captain that led you stray. And now you're just a indoctrinated Israelite, just a groupie. We're not doing that here. We're not doing that here. So to give you a witness that this Kariah in the Hebrew context is horn or authority, can you read Tehillim 18:2?
All right. It says, Yahweh is my rock and my fortress and my deliverer, my Elohim, my strength, in whom I will trust, my buckler and the horn of my salvation.
The what?
The horn of my salvation and my high tower.
So you see how we just lined that up, family? We just gave you I didn't read you a document and then give you commentary. I read you their definition is saying Kariah is something horn-like, and then I'm telling you horn is authority or power for the Hebrew. Yahweh is the horn of our salvation. But wait, there's more.
Just on this is something that I'm maybe slowly starting to pick up, but a lot of times too, they'll tell you the definition of the word, like right after the word. So for example, it says, my Alahayim, my strength. Alahayim is your strength. It's telling you the definition because
that's what he is.
Alahayim is power. And then the strength, Ha, beholds, and then the authority, the strength who holds the authority. And then we know we got the plural at the end. Yeah. But I've been noticing this lately, just when I let the Bible app play, they'll say like, just like what I said, my Alahayim, my strength. And there's other examples, but
many examples.
But the second statement after the first sometimes will explain the definition of what they said before, even translated into English.
I may have the perfect example in the lesson. Did y'all catch what he's bringing out?
Shalakia, yeah, they even do the same. They even do the same thing with name when they name a location.
So that's good.
Yeah,
they would name the location, then they would turn right around and tell you what the name of that location meant.
Absolutely
right, like something where the
altar of Yah.
Right, our Papa Yaakov, Jacob, and he made this Mount Galal because here X, Y, and Z happened. So that is literally the definition of what that word is. So it's just like something. A
common one the witnesses use in the modern Bible translations, and even some church people are aware of this. When we would go out there and try to tell them like, oh, his name is Jehovah, because it says it in the King James like 6 times or whatever, and they probably never seen it. But they will say, yeah, Jehovah Jireh, that's one of his names. And it's like, what? Jehovah Jireh was the name of a place. In translation, it would tell you that Jehovah Jireh is what they call it. But before knowing that name is just a perversion and Masonic and all of that stuff, that's how that registered to me. Jacob, you brought up Jacob with Peniel, not Peniel. What they call it when the hip joint or whatever. When his hip got knocked out of place by the angel, they named that location. They named that location based on that's it. Yeah, so you see it all throughout. That's a good point.
Narai, you had something out?
Since Shamar had brought that out, when the 12 patriarchs was being born, you saw Mother Leah and Mother Rachel, they literally did that same thing for every single son that was born, especially Yahweh. So that's a great point Shamar had brought up.
Yeah, and I was looking for the sake of time, I just tell you where it's at. Somewhere in Hosea, it gives you the definition of Yasharallah. I'm like, wow, it's right there. Like I got it marked in one of my Bibles, probably my big Bible. But we don't have to guess anything. We don't have to interpolate, meaning add something. If you just come back to keeping the commandments, John 14:21, Yahweh Shai is going to whisper to you. He's going to remove the scales from your eyes. So these brothers, Israelites included, they say things that sound powerful and they screaming in their mics and getting all excited with charisma. And it sounds good, people emotional, but your breakdown is off. And we're coming to a point in this walk where one letter off can mean you're dead. Can you imagine Yah says, call on me in the day of trouble? The devil's knowing his name, but you're calling on Ahaya. The devil's looking at you like, who is that nigga? I don't know him. Y'all grew up with the vampire movies? Remember what happened with you put a crucifix on a vampire in holy water, but you don't believe? Vampire kill you. So you up here rehearsing all these made up things that these teachers done gave you and you ain't verified. Now in the day of trouble, when Aba Yah says, call on me, don't call on the name. He says, call on me. He didn't say, call me Hashem or Hasham. He says, call on me. I'm your rock of salvation. But you'd have been sucked up in all this man-made doctrine and you killed with the rest of them. So all your feast days you had, all your tabernacling is for naught because you stopped at the surface and didn't be reborn as an Israelite. That's why we teach the way we do, family. I'm not in competition with no one, but I want the truth. And when I see people being disingenuous, giving people rabbinic Judaism, it burns me up because you're leading Israelites down the wrong hole. We don't practice Talmudism. We don't practice rabbinic Judaism. So, before you make the point, Aba Yah.
Oh yes, thank you. All that's been said like the past 30 minutes, it super resonates with me, because for those who really know me, they know I hate lies, I hate deception. I am a deep lover of facts, truth, and accuracy. I live by that, and that's why I talk so staunch, because I'm serious. Don't lie to me, and you know I'm not gonna lie to you. And I live by that. But when it comes to this language, and our language, I do even have my own indignation when people say it's not important, and that's even based off of what I've been learning here in the Torah Group, and it's been a beautiful thing. So, brother, you've been doing an excellent and beautiful job. I've been taking it personal for my own self. But last week, even the brothers that I meet with out here, they're not getting this food. So they don't know anything about about even getting back to the language. So because I've been hearing things in this awakening that I just like, man, this don't make no sense. And it's like people take teachings, or they'll take something out of the scriptures and it'll become doctrine. Like notions become doctrines. Like just because somebody say it, that's just a notion, but people are living by it as if it's an actual teaching, just because they see it in the KJV. And I'm like, don't do that. That's a notion, and you're teaching that notion as doctrine. And that's been burning me up hot, because thank to the Most High that I have a natural understanding and a love for truth, and he allows me to be able to see stuff. When you want it, he gonna let you see it, you know? So there's a lot of things that's in this awakening, and I'm like, that ain't right. That ain't right. That's a notion. That's a notion, because I can tell how people talk, and I can tell how people are explaining and using these things. And I'm like, no, you're saying that as a notion, but you're going about it, and you're telling people, and people are picking it up, and they're taking it as actual truth. So last week I had to like take one scripture that I know people are using as a notion and taking it as doctrine, and I had to break it down to these brothers over here. And I'm like, don't run with this over here as some teaching, because it's not. That is not what this particular scripture is saying. So I had to show them, like, look at the history of our scrolls. Look who's had their hands in our scrolls. Look what the Greeks did. Look what the Romans did. This, that, and the other. And I did a quick little breakdown of that, and they had nothing to say, because they couldn't believe how important our language was, and how what they've been reading has not come out to be actual truth. And you know, thanks to the Most High, they appreciated it. But it was something that I had to do, because I cannot be in the midst of people who just go off notions. No, you better get this right, or at least try to. Don't just be running off notions, because we can't fly with that.
All praises. Just never become rigid, like you know it all. And I'm not changing my stance. All the stuff we bring out, I'm still open to that. That's why we're never going to shut anybody down, but we're not just going to change our stance because you got something you hot. That just because you hot don't mean that you're dead on. So all praise to Aba Yah for that. I see it. I hate when I get onto a bone. I don't want to let go. So when Yahushua says not one joke, well, he didn't say one joke. He's saying nothing written by the hand of the prophets, and they spoke for Aba Yah. Nothing written is going to change. And then the tittle that they use, tittle, kariah, or horn, no power of the law shall fade away. But then, can you finish that definition down there at the bottom?
The Thayer's.
Tom.
It says a little horn, extremity, apex, a point used by the Greek grammarians of the accents and
diacritical
points.
Well, none of our hieroglyphs have diacritical points. That was man-made. Read on.
In Matthew 5:18, it says also, Jesus the Messiah.
It's saying he's the authority. These pagans know this, but now you bury this, make these seminary schools and tell people the law is done, you live by grace. But these older statesmen, these are pagans, but they knew what that meant. They were being more true to the Hebrew, saying Messiah is the horn. Who we say is the law?
Messiah.
I am the truth, I am the way, I am the light. Yahweh Shai, Messiah is the Torah. So he's the authority, and nothing of him or by him has faded away, nor shall it ever fade away. So Matthew 5:18 in the Hebraic context, it said, nothing written and no authority of the law shall fade away. So now let's get a witness for Matthew 5:18. Can you read Yashayahu 40:8? It's on the screen. You guys can verify it if you want. Yashayahu 40:8.
I'll just read that.
Come.
The grass withers and the flowers fall, but the word of Yahweh shall stand forever.
How long?
Forever.
Till Christ come.
Forever.
To the resurrection.
Forever.
So we know the word is a metaphor, a euphemism for the law, the Torah. Because now let's be a little bit foolish. The word of Yah shall stand forever. Which one of his words? He said a lot of words. Y'all stop at grace. Oh, grace is going to stand forever.
That's why Hebrew would be so powerful, because it would say Aba Yah.
Aba Yah. So we know when the elders or who Isaiah here or Yashayahu is speaking for Yah, Yah is telling him to record, my words shall stand forever. And it's not one particular word. It's his whole instructions to us. More than the stones, everything I tell you is Torah. My word shall stand. When he told us don't go back to Egypt, that was commandments. So this is the true breakdown, the Hebraic thought of Matthew 5:18. And you can use this technique for all the spurious and dubious verses that you find in the New Testament. Use this technique and you can extract or return to the Hebraic thought.
Gerald had a question. He said, what is the definition of Yashar'Allah?
Yashar'Allah, now you see, that's the bone I was trying to go to, because I got it marked on my Bibles. Yashar'Allah is the princess of power. And I thought it was in Hosea, but my little Bible isn't marked. So I'm trying to see if my big Bible is marked. It's in one of the, what they call the minor prophets. Y'all know I don't disrespect our elders like that. One of the elders give you the definition of Yashar'Allah. Let me check this, my bigger Bible real quick.
I think Abishai found it. I think it's Hosea 12:3.
Come on, bring it out. Come on, bring it home.
He says he took his brother. Well, I'm gonna read verse 2. It says Yahweh.
Come on.
Also a controversy with Yahweh and will punish Yashar'Allah according to his ways, which it says Jacob in the text. According to his doings, he will recompense him. Verse 3. He took his brother by the heel in the womb, and by his strength he had power with Yahweh.
That's the one. Halal, that's the brotherhood. We need all hands on deck. All praises. That's what I was looking for.
Hey, look, when you was trying to find it and you ran me crazy, so I had to try to find it.
Yeah,
I was going nuts over here trying to find that.
Oh man!
So I sent it to Shamaria so he can verify before he says something.
I'm saying, why I didn't have it marked in my little Bible?
But yeah, the one, that's why we say one who rules or one who has power with Yahweh. Then right there is telling you.
So that's why it's sort of disrespect to call us Israel and Israelites. But like I told y'all, I keep telling, if we go strictly Hebrew or Aba Yah, we're going to lose people. So we got to use the terms that they're familiar with. We got to say God sometimes, got to say Messiah, Christ, we got to say Israel. But that definition of who we are is right there. We are the princes who have power with Yah. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Hallelujah. Marking up both Bibles now.
And of course, the witness to what you just said and that precept is back when Father Jacob was wrestling with the Malachim. And when he tried to leave, Father Jacob grabbed him and said, "You ain't going nowhere until you bless me." And that's when his name was changed from Yaqub or Jacob to Yasharallah or Israel. And he literally said, because you have, and I'm paraphrasing, but y'all can bring it out just to, clean it up. You've pretty much wrestled with Yah and you prevail, essentially.
And it's somewhere in Genesis, Nariah gave you enough to find it. The original, when Jacob's name was changed, that's what the angel told him, you got power now. You have power with God now, or the Most High now. So
you got Genesis 32:28.
That's what it happened?
It's in Genesis 32, but Genesis 32:28 says, "And he said, thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel or Yashal. For as a prince thou hast power with God, and
there it is.
With men you hast prevailed."
So we just got two witnesses. See how we just did that? We just gave you two witnesses what our name means. We're not making things up because it sounds cool. We're not making things up that sound logical. We got Hosea 12:3, and then we got Genesis 32, we say verse 8?
28.
28. Two witnesses. We know what we're saying when we say Yasharallah. We're not just making things up because it sounds cool. All praise the water Rabah for that.
Can I ask one question? Because I'm glad you said that, because it jogged my memory. I meant to ask you this way earlier, but isn't the word Shar prince? Or because you had brought it out earlier as far as why Mother Sarah's name was changed from Sarai to Sarah. Isn't it Shar, like prince? Okay, so now it will make sense. Now it makes sense. Yah, Shar, Allah. Right. Yah, the arm, Shar, the prince, Allah, power.
So it's a compound word made of three different words. Makes sense. Yah is the he, Shar, prince, Allah, power. That's why I used to mess my mom's head up when I started learning that we the Hebrews. I was like, oh, praise be to Allah. I'm like, I'm coming here with that mess, boy. It was like, Mom, it just means power, it just means God. So that's how we put precept upon precept, and that's the perfect way to use the plumb line. You can't be giving people your own doctrine because it sounds good and you got a feeling and you got a hunch. Oh yeah, that's going to be a good sound bite. That's church, family. We got to verify everything. You're dealing with the Most High's children. I'm not scared of no man. I'm scared of your father and I'm scared of your king. That's why I take the time to do what we do, family. All praise be to Aba Yah.